Claire's thumb hovered over the refresh button. For one impossible second, I convinced myself the banking app had frozen. Then the numbers changed. My savings account, the account I'd spent nearly 8 years building dollar by dollar, didn't just shrink. It hit *0, 00 ***. What? I blinked hard and refreshed again. Nothing changed. Instead, a list of completed transfers filled the screen, each one draining another chunk of my emergency fund until there was nothing left. My heart started pounding. No, that's not possible. The family barbecue had ended less than 15 minutes earlier. Half-empty paper plates still covered my patio table. My nieces were chasing bubbles across the lawn. My brother Ethan was loading folding chairs into his truck. This had happened while everyone was here. I walked back into my kitchen, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Did anyone touch my phone today? The room quieted. Nobody answered. I looked from face to face until my eyes landed on my sister-in-law, Vanessa. She wasn't surprised. She wasn't confused. She smiled. Then she shrugged. We deserved it more than you. The words hit harder than the missing money. Ethan stared at the floor. My aunt cleared her throat. Oh, Claire, she said carefully. Vanessa told us you were helping them. You always have money saved. It's not extra money, I whispered. Vanessa crossed her arms. You live alone. No kids, no mortgage. Meanwhile, we're struggling every month. Family helps family. I felt my hands begin to shake, not from fear anymore, but from realizing this hadn't been an impulsive theft. They had planned it. Every single one of them had been eating burgers in my backyard, while someone emptied the account I'd spent years protecting. I slowly picked up my purse from the kitchen counter. Vanessa laughed. What are you going to do? I looked straight at her. Then you won't mind what happens next. That made everyone laugh. Even a couple of cousins smiled awkwardly, clearly expecting me to cool off like I always did. Because that's who I'd always been. The peacemaker. The one who apologized first. The one who swallowed hurt just to keep holidays from turning into arguments. Not this time. A loud knock echoed through the house. Every conversation stopped. Before anyone could move, the front door opened. 2 professionally dressed investigators stepped inside. One of them scanned the room before asking in a calm, firm voice, "Who here is Vanessa?" The laughter disappeared instantly. Vanessa frowned. "I'm Vanessa. What's this about?" Neither investigator answered her immediately. Instead, one of them looked toward me. "Claire Morgan." "Yes. We need everyone to remain here for a few minutes." The atmosphere changed so quickly, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Just seconds earlier, everyone had treated me like I was overreacting. Now no one spoke. Vanessa recovered first. "This is ridiculous," she scoffed. "Claire, did you seriously call investigators because you're upset about helping family?" "I didn't call them today," I replied quietly. She frowned, clearly expecting an argument instead of a calm answer. Ethan finally looked up, his face noticeably pale. "What do you mean, today?" I didn't answer him. Instead, I looked around the kitchen that had been full of laughter less than an hour ago. The grill was still smoking outside. Someone's lemonade sat untouched on the counter. The smell of barbecue still filled the house. Everything looked exactly the same. Except nothing was. I looked back at Vanessa. She still seemed confident. Too confident. Like someone who believed she'd already won. She had spent years making little comments whenever the family gathered. Claire doesn't know real responsibility. She has plenty put away. What's the point of saving if you never help anyone? I used to ignore them. I thought keeping the peace mattered more than defending myself. After our parents died, I'd promised myself I wouldn't lose the only family I had left. So every insult became something I swallowed. Every boundary became another compromise. Every favor became an expectation. Until apparently, my entire savings account had become community property. I looked down at my phone again. Every transfer showed the same afternoon timestamp. While everyone had been laughing in my backyard. While I'd been flipping burgers beside Ethan. While Vanessa had insisted on taking photos because she wanted everyone in one picture. A chill ran through me. This hadn't happened in secret. It had happened in the middle of my own family gathering. One investigator stepped forward with a small notebook. We're going to ask everyone a few questions. Vanessa folded her arms. You can't honestly believe I stole anything. The investigator didn't react. Instead, he turned toward me. Claire. He paused long enough that every person in the room looked at me. Did anyone besides you have access to your phone this afternoon? The question settled over the room like a heavy weight. I looked down at my phone, then back at the investigator. I never handed it to anyone to use my banking app. He nodded. That's not what I asked. I searched my memory. Then one moment came back, so clearly it made my stomach tighten. Vanessa borrowed it. Vanessa let out an exaggerated sigh. Oh, for heaven's sake. I used your phone to take pictures because mine was dead. Just pictures? The investigator asked. Of course. I remembered something else. She had it longer than that, I said slowly. I was outside helping Ethan with the grill. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. I just asked you to check the propane tank. You kept me out there for several minutes. It wasn't intentional. Before anyone spoke again, another memory surfaced. The password reset emails. 3 of them over the past month. I had dismissed each one as spam after changing my password. Then there had been Vanessa's strange questions. How much do freelancers usually keep in savings? Do you still use that same banking app? At the time, she laughed and said she was just curious. Now every conversation felt different. The investigator wrote quietly while I continued. There were other things too, failed login alerts, questions that didn't make sense. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Listen to her. She's acting like she's some millionaire with state secrets. No, I replied, meeting her gaze. I'm someone who worked for every dollar in that account. The room fell silent. I took a slow breath. After my parents died, I promised myself I'd never be one emergency away from losing everything. That savings account wasn't vacation money. It was security. Vanessa gave a dismissive laugh. And meanwhile, the rest of us were supposed to struggle while you watched your balance grow. I never said that. You didn't have to. I lowered my eyes for a moment. The truth hurt almost as much as the missing money. I ignored comments like that because I didn't want family fights. Every time something felt off, I convinced myself I was imagining it. The investigator closed his notebook and exchanged a brief glance with his partner. It was quick, silent, but it told me they had noticed something important. Vanessa noticed it too. She stepped forward before anyone had accused her of anything. This has gone far enough. Claire's embarrassing everyone over a misunderstanding. Neither investigator responded. Instead, one of them looked directly at me. Claire? His voice was calm. Did anyone besides Vanessa have access to your phone this afternoon? The investigator's question shifted every pair of eyes around the room. I thought back over the afternoon. No, I answered, not that I remember. Before I could say anything else, my cousin Melissa spoke up. Actually, I remember Vanessa taking everyone's picture. Vanessa turned sharply toward her. So, Melissa hesitated. You had Claire's phone for a while. I even joked that you were taking forever. Another voice joined in. My uncle frowned. And Ethan had Claire out by the grill the whole time. Ethan swallowed. We were just checking the propane. For almost 10 minutes, Melissa asked. No one answered. The timeline snapped into place inside my head. Vanessa had my phone. Ethan had my attention. The transfers on my banking app were all stamped within that same window. Vanessa folded her arms tighter. Oh, this is unbelievable. Claire told us she wanted to help. Now she's pretending she didn't because she regrets giving us the money. I never authorized a single transfer, I said firmly. You absolutely did. No. The investigator finally stepped in. The transfers were authenticated through Ms. Morgan's banking credentials. Vanessa smiled triumphantly. There, thank you. He continued before she could celebrate. That does not establish authorization. Her smile disappeared. I noticed Ethan rubbing the back of his neck. Vanessa glanced at him, almost as if warning him to stay quiet. He cleared his throat. Well, I mean, Claire knew we were struggling. That's not the same as permission, I replied. I thought. No, Vanessa cut in quickly. You know exactly what happened. The interruption was so abrupt that even Ethan looked surprised. Whispers spread across the room. Relatives who had defended Vanessa minutes earlier exchanged uncertain looks. My aunt leaned toward my uncle. If Claire really agreed, why is Vanessa doing all the talking? The investigator let the silence linger before speaking again. We've confirmed the transfers originated from Ms. Morgan's device. Vanessa lifted her chin. Exactly. He looked directly at Ethan. But they were also authenticated through another linked device. The room froze. The investigator extended his hand. Mr. Morgan, I need you to hand me your phone. Ethan didn't move. For 3 long seconds, Ethan didn't move. The investigator kept his hand extended. Mr. Morgan. Ethan slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Vanessa stepped between them. You don't have the right to do this. We're preserving potential evidence, the investigator replied evenly. Please don't interfere. Ethan finally handed over the device. The room was so quiet that I could hear the ice melting in forgotten glasses on the kitchen table. My relatives stared at one another, their confidence fading with every passing second. This no longer looked like a family disagreement. It looked like an investigation. The second investigator placed Ethan's phone into an evidence bag before turning toward Vanessa. Yours as well. She hesitated. This is insane. If you refuse, we'll note that refusal. Vanessa reluctantly surrendered her phone, glaring at me the entire time. You planned this, she hissed. I shook my head. No. Only then did another memory click into place. The failed login notifications. The security emails. The verification texts I'd received late at night over the past few weeks. I had thought someone was guessing my password. Now I realized someone had been learning enough about me to get into my account. Vanessa pointed a finger at me. She's been setting us up because she never wanted to help family. The investigator looked at her calmly. Ms. Morgan contacted her financial institution before today's gathering. The room erupted. What? My aunt gasped. Ethan turned toward me in disbelief. You already knew something was wrong. I knew someone was trying to get into my account, I answered. I just never imagined it was my own family. Ethan's shoulders sagged. He rubbed both hands over his face before speaking so quietly that everyone leaned in to hear. I didn't handle any of it. Every eye shifted toward him. Vanessa took care of all the banking stuff. Vanessa spun toward him. You coward. You told me she'd never notice. I never said that. You absolutely did. Their carefully rehearsed story collapsed in front of everyone. Across the room, Melissa looked at me with tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Claire. We should have believed you. One by one, other relatives echoed the apology. Just an hour earlier, they'd called me selfish. Now they couldn't even look me in the eye. Vanessa noticed something that seemed to unsettle her even more. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't begging anyone to believe me. She stared at me. Why are you so calm? I met her gaze without raising my voice. Because this stopped being about my money before you ever transferred it. Confused faces turned toward the investigators. The lead investigator closed his notebook. He looked around the room, making sure he had everyone's attention. Then he spoke. It's time everyone hears what really happened. The investigator stepped into the center of the room. Several weeks ago, he began, Ms. Morgan contacted her bank after receiving repeated failed login notifications and password reset attempts she didn't authorize. Every face turned toward me. I thought someone had gotten hold of my information, I said quietly. I changed my passwords, reported the activity, and followed the bank's advice. The investigator nodded. Rather than immediately closing the investigation, the bank's fraud department monitored the suspicious activity because someone continued attempting to access the account using increasingly accurate personal information. Vanessa's confidence disappeared. So, she stammered, what does that have to do with today? It has everything to do with today. He opened his folder. When the transfers were made during this barbecue, every login, every authentication request, every connected device, every destination account, and every timestamp was automatically documented. Silence swept through the room. You completed the very evidence investigators had been waiting for. Vanessa looked toward Ethan. He couldn't meet her eyes anymore. I never thought, he whispered, his voice breaking. I never thought it would go this far. I stared at my brother. You knew what she was doing. He slowly nodded. She kept saying you had more than enough. She said you'd never even notice. I let myself believe it. I felt tears sting my eyes, but I refused to look away. I could have forgiven almost anything, Ethan. He finally looked at me. But not this. Vanessa suddenly pointed at him. This isn't all on me, he agreed. The investigator closed the folder. Responsibility will be determined through the investigation. At this point, both of you are being documented in connection with the fraudulent transfers. For the first time all afternoon, Vanessa had nothing to say. My aunt covered her mouth. I defended you, she said to Vanessa. I accused Claire of being selfish. Melissa wiped away tears. We all did. One by one, relatives apologized. Some couldn't even look me in the eye. For years, they had treated my careful saving as proof that I owed everyone else. No one had asked how many nights I skipped vacations, turned down expensive purchases, or worked weekends to build that emergency fund after losing our parents. They had only seen the balance, never the sacrifice behind it. The investigator turned to me. The bank has already begun the fraud recovery process. Eligible transfers will be reversed as the investigation continues. I let out the first full breath I'd taken all evening. The money represented years of discipline. But something even more valuable had returned to me. My voice. Over the following months, the evidence spoke louder than anyone's excuses. The fraudulent transfers were traced from my phone to the linked devices investigators had collected that afternoon. The funds were recovered through the bank's fraud process wherever possible, while the legal case moved forward. Vanessa and Ethan were held responsible for what they had done and faced the financial and legal consequences of their choices. Family gatherings changed after that. Some people stayed away out of embarrassment. Others came back with genuine apologies and a new understanding of what healthy boundaries actually looked like. As for me, I changed every password, strengthened my account security, and stopped feeling guilty for saying one simple word. No. When someone called asking for money, I no longer confused generosity with obligation. When someone tried to make me responsible for their choices, I walked away without apologizing. Months later, I hosted another dinner. Not a crowded barbecue filled with people who believed they were entitled to my life. Just a small table shared with friends and relatives who respected me enough to hear the word no. As I locked my front door that night, I realized something I wish I'd learned years earlier. Protecting yourself doesn't make you selfish. It shows you exactly who is benefiting from the absence of your boundaries. They believed my savings made me weak, but the moment they stole them was the moment they lost everything.